States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ben does not want to stay up there.
Welcome to the Town Board year-end meeting. I'm going to jump off the agenda because we have some public here this evening that they'd like to address something. So, Dr. Suttons, would you like to address the board?
Yes. So
If you could go to the mic, then everybody can hear you at home.
I will do that. May I put my papers on this?
Sure.
Thank you. So, good evening. My name is Marianne Sutton. I'm a board-certified pediatrician and a resident of Cold Spring. We are is this close enough?
Close enough?
Closer, okay. Great. We are a group of concerned citizens who would like to start up a vaccination campaign for both COVID and flu. We're a small group. Alan Bronstein, who recently wrote a letter to the PCNR and the Current about COVID vaccination, Peter Hoffman, physician who lives in Garrison, and Heidi Snyder of Drug World. The reason we feel that an educational campaign would be helpful is because the CDC gave us language that's very confusing. If you got 2 shots for COVID in 2021, you're called fully vaccinated. And we think people were convinced that that would provide protection. With certain vaccines, like the hepatitis A vaccine, 2 shots, you're good for life. Unfortunately, with the COVID vaccine, that's not true. It's much more like the flu. You need a booster. The language for people who have had boosters is called up to date. But we feel that a lot of people are confused by the language that was given to us, and that it's really not people's fault if they don't understand because the messaging has not been cleared. Our campaign is called Let's Keep Philipstown Safe, and we would like to reach out to the residents, explain to them that they need a booster, that boosters are free, available at Drug World, and if there are too many people for Drug World, maybe we'll get that lucky. St. Mary's can act as a place where we can give more vaccinations, and we will even go to people's homes if people are homebound or live in sort of communities where they can't get out. The way we would like to have our educational, so before I tell you about the campaign, let me give you some of the numbers. Sure. The number of immunized people in Putnam County is over 80%. Those people are what's called fully vaccinated, but unfortunately only 17% have received a booster or what's called up to date.
So they're vaccinated but not current.
They're vaccinated but not current and also not protected.
Right.
And that's kind of what people don't understand because the messaging we feel has not been clear.
So the 80% is 2 shots.
2 shots,
Gotcha.
most likely sometime in 2021.
Yeah, gotcha.
And if it's been more than 6 months, you're vulnerable. And you can A, get the disease and B, spread it. And COVID deaths and hospitalizations are going up, mostly in the 65 and over, but, you know, I'm 64, so. The Cold Spring numbers, 87% of people got those 2 original shots, and 25% of people, a little bit better than 17, but still, that means 75% of people who live in Cold Spring are not protected. Garrison, it's 20% of people have had 3 shots, including a booster, but not, that means 80% of people are vulnerable to the disease. The flu numbers are also quite scary. Flu is going up. I have some numbers right here. If I find the right sheet, I do. Okay, yes. There's been a 64% increase in the past week in flu. The number of patients hospitalized was 2,500. Again, it has doubled in a week. And it's in every single county in all of New York State. So it's not that it's in only one area. The good news is that Dr. Walensky from the CDC said we're very lucky. This year the flu vaccine really works well.
It's matching the strain.
It matches the strains. As you know, they have to guess 6 to 9 months ahead of time. This year we got lucky, it matches the strains. So it's a good year. There's a lot of flu, people are getting sick, people are dying, and the vaccine actually works.
Right.
So what we would like to do is have an educational grassroots. This is by the residents of Philipstown for the residents of Philipstown. This is a grassroots people campaign. This is not anything by any kind of health department or anything like that. And what we want to do is run ads in the Current and the PCNR. Both newspapers have been very supportive. We want to send mailings to all the homes of all the Philipstown residents with basically the educational message that I've just outlined, and put election-style posters up and down 9D, and also in key shops and maybe public places if we get the endorsement. I want to thank the people who have already supported us, whom that includes the press. The Current has been very supportive, and the PCNR, Alan has spoken to them, printed his letter when he raised this issue. The Chamber of Commerce has been very supportive and said they will do whatever they can to support this initiative. And of course, Drug World, who will not only provide the vaccines and the personnel to administer them both in the shop and St. Mary's, we want to thank. And so we hope to be able to get this kind of grassroots campaign off the ground so that we can keep Philipstown healthy.
Well, I would like to thank you. I'm sure the board will as well. Thank you all for initiating it, taking the bull by the horns, because it's certainly an important program. As far as the town of Philipstown, we can e-blast it, Tara?
Yeah, I mean, that's like 200 people.
Well, there's 200 people, and then we can put it on our website as well as put it on the TV channel. So,
No, we haven't had a TV channel in over a year.
Is that true?
The TV channel, the DVDs work. The bulletin board has not worked in over a year. I have reiterated that several times to several different people.
Okay, we're going to get on that, Seal. Okay. So, and what else? How else could the town of Philipstown assist you? I mean, we could put posters here.
One of it is kind of an emotional ask. Would you, I don't know enough about the politics of how villages and towns run, endorse us and say that we as a town want this because we want to keep our residents safe. And this is really meant to be by our town, for our town. And I think that's what's going to get it to work. That this is, we're helping ourselves kind of thing, and we're doing it for each other.
Absolutely. I'm fully supportive. I had my booster on Saturday, so I am up to date, and I encourage everybody to go out and get their booster. It's important, and a flu shot as well. So we will sign on, whatever you'd like us to sign on for. Anybody have any?
I'm delighted to hear this proposal and to know the work you're doing, and I think it's so important. As someone with a public health background, I know that messaging is so important to getting the public's buy-in. And, you know, I got the bivalent shot, but I have had members of my family who weren't eligible for it. And then even though they had the 2 vaccines and another booster, they still got COVID. So I understand completely how critical this is. And also the flu. The flu is still killing people.
That's why I got 2 arms. One's for COVID, the other one's for flu. You know?
Yes, I got them both. A little sore.
I also just wanted to thank you, Marianne, and to me what stood out is the local level data of how many people in Cold Spring and Garrison have gotten boosters is really powerful. So I really thank you for doing the campaign.
We were leading for a long time. We were leading the county at one point with shots.
I think my perfect example is our 30-year-old son. And he's not particularly opposed to vaccines at all. He just kind of was planning to get his booster and, well, you know, hey, Mom, I got really busy. And then he was sick in bed for 2 weeks, sick as a dog. And I think a lot of people, the messaging has been wrong. They don't understand. They don't realize it's still a threat. And the other thing is, you may be aware of this, there's no good data about the incidence of the disease because people are home testing. And that data is not being collected. So the only data we have are hospitalizations and deaths. And obviously that's the tip of the iceberg. But everybody knows somebody who's sick at home, sick in bed with COVID. And sooner or later you start to say, the data we have is terrible.
I believe Haldane was at 25% out sick the other day. That's unofficial. That's just from what I was told. It was 25% of the elementary was out sick. So with either one of the three, with RSV is also prevalent. So
Well, there's no vaccine for that. So,
I think it's
sorry.
very important, as you said, I think there's a lot of confusion out there, number one, right? People think, I got COVID already, there's no reason for me to get the other shots, and I don't know how true that is or not, but I think it's important that the facts get out there and people understand it, because that's not the case today.
Let me answer that question. If you had COVID, you should still get a booster, because if you've had COVID, you can still spread it. I think the problem with COVID, it's not like all those other diseases like chickenpox, measles. You have the disease, you're good for life. COVID is really more like the flu or the common cold, which is what it's related to. You can get it over and over again. You can continue to spread it. And the vaccine is not as effective as we wish, but it's the best thing we have.
Well, like I said, I think the big thing is people have this fallacy that, I got COVID all right, I'm good, I got the antibodies already. That's what people thought originally when all this happened. I think too many people still think that. I mean, I'm fully boosted as well, too. I mean, I got everything I could possibly get, and I encourage everyone else to do the same. But obviously, that's only can encouragement only goes so far.
And like you said, we all know somebody that's home right now with COVID.
So the other thing is to facilitate mailings. I think residents of Philipstown is public record, but if you could help us by giving us the list so that we can send the mailings.
You're probably better off going through the county, but I'll see what I can do.
Okay, so that would be a practical thing, and
Well, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. Just recently, we sent a mass mailing out through the food insecurity.
Yeah, a very easy way to do it is just the USPS Every Door Direct Mail program, and you'll be able to put a letter or any mailing into every home in Philipstown. And if you look at the Every Door Direct Mail like online, then they allow you to choose
Every
both.
Door Direct.
Every Door Direct Mail at the USPS, and they allow you to pick routes, and so you can choose every route in Philipstown and get a mailing to every door.
Can you assist?
Of course,
We'll link you guys up.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, just financially, you have private people who are taking care of all this?
So,
so the mail things it's
So-
not inexpensive, is all I'm saying.
We are hoping to get private donations. At this point, if we wait for public grants, it'll be July.
Too late, yeah, understood.
So we're hoping to get private donations. Nobody's getting paid for their time. We need financial support for the ads in the press, the printing, and the mailings. That's really,
Maybe just get a postcard or something.
I mean,
Whatever you decide, I'm saying.
it depends on how generous donors are. We're going to private donors and asking for support, and
Do you have a 501c3 set up, or
not yet.
because I'm just wondering if you could associate with, I don't know, maybe the food pantry or something along those lines that could.
So that it's a charitable donation.
Right, so then people can write a donation and make a donation and get a write-off for it. It makes a big difference for people that want to make
That's a
donations.
very, very good idea.
I'm just wondering if there's any organization that would,
Do we have any kind of health care
that's what I'm thinking.
nonprofit in the?
The hub, but
The
that's
hub.
not that.
The hub?
The hub,
The hub's the 501c.
Yeah. The hub could probably,
yeah, they could probably,
would you like to
sure,
reach out?
I'll speak to the hub.
So we could try the hub, that would be a one route, and they could make donations.
May I leave you my email?
Absolutely.
And, yeah, I would
Okay, great.
love any practical
Yeah, so that may help get you some additional funding, so. So we'll, you guys can link up. We can put it on the town website, whatever information you'd like us to put on the website, which people do see, and they do watch the show.
And we'll put stuff on
We can-
posters in your front lawn.
Yes, yeah.
Keep Philipstown healthy.
Keep
That's what we want.
Philipstown healthy, perfect.
Is there a website or something you want to give out now?
No. We were trying to get, support so that this was really a community event before we really started, and now we're going to,
Well, I really appreciate your efforts and your
well,
group, and
don't congratulate me until we get it done.
I hope, I'm confident you will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
you coming in and talking to us about this.
All righty, now we can get on with the agenda.
First is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to make the necessary budget transfers to close the books for the year 2022.
So this is something that goes on every year at the end of the budget season. Thank you. Money will stay in, particular categories, just get switched around within those budgets to zero out accounts. So if I could get a motion for budgetary transfers to close out the year for 2020.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign the outreach worker services contract between Putnam County Office for Senior Resources and Town of Philipstown for the year 2023.
Before we go on with this, Jason, I know you wanted to look into this some more before we, we just signed the 2022 one, so.
Which is why we were trying to get ahead of the game for
But
2023.
I understand that, but we're not in 2023, and there is some question as to what we're getting and if the quality is there. And this was an amount that was based on a salary for an employee. It was half of the salary that employee retired. The employee was never replaced. We did have Office for the Aging come in, or Office for Senior Resources come in. He described to us last March exactly what they were providing and how they were doing it. They were pulling from other communities, and he assured us that the seniors in the town of Philipstown were getting what that we were paying for. So if we're uncomfortable, Jason, if you want, we can certainly look into it some more. If you want to do some research, and we can do it on the January meeting or later, obviously.
Yeah. No, I only had questions, but I'd be happy to. The questions were, they have this same contract that they've had the last number of years, and what Mike Cunningham made clear is that there's no longer an outreach worker. Specific. There's no person there. There's just like a number of people who are supposedly. And so I just kind of feel like, one, if that's the case, maybe we want to change the contract, because it still reads as if our money is going to a person,
A worker,
that is doing these services, like actively seeking out and assisting people, providing office hours and home visits. None of that is happening.
Well, I don't know if none of it's happening, but I don't think there is a specific person assigned to Philipstown.
Philipstown.
So
To do
I
that.
think when the call is made, there's a pool of them, and one of them will come here. It's not always going to be
The same person.
But I'd be happy if you'd look into it and see, maybe reach out to the seniors and find out if, their questions are being answered and if the service is provided. And if we need to change the contract, I'm sure that can be altered as well through our attorney along with the county.
Okay.
Just try to find out how many people are in that pool, maybe. Is it 5? Is it 2? Is it 3?
Of the workers.
You mean who are providing those services?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Just curiosity how many
Yeah.
they actually have.
Yeah.
What their schedule is, like
You
how
know.
many
You know,
days
'cause-
a week are they available to Philipstown?
Because they did
My question
promise.
is, are the calls from Philipstown being covered? If a senior from Philipstown calls, are they getting service?
Yeah.
Or are they waiting 2 weeks or?
They did tell me at one point that they used to be able to go into the senior center. There would be
Somebody there.
somebody there.
Right, directly.
I don't know if that's still happening.
I don't know.
Any other questions? Because I can just.
No.
Okay. The only thing I wanted to ask is, is would they provide regular report backs to us, since we're, putting in this money to tell us how many people they've identified over a
I think
quarter.
that's a good question.
Yeah, like what's and then
Yeah, what's the process and how many calls, how many people do they service? And there's got to be a record. They have to keep a record somehow.
Yeah.
Right? So if you can get that information, I think that'd be great.
Okay. All right.
So I think
I'll-
we should just table this for this month.
Okay.
So we'll bring it back up in January.
You have to make a motion to
Yeah,
table
so,
it.
can I get a motion to table item number 2 until we can do further, research?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution accepting the resignation of Kim Connor from the Philipstown Planning Board effective December 31st, 2022, and authorizing the town clerk to advertise for the position.
Well, I regretfully accept this. Kim served the town of Philipstown in so many different roles and has done so much for the town of Philipstown. No matter what we needed, when we need it, if we need something accomplished or assistance with something, Kim is there. She's served on the planning board for, how many, 18 years? How many years? It's been a long time. I know longer than I've been on the board, which is 13. So I hate to see Kim go, but she thinks it's time, and we'll have to advertise. But Kim, thank you so much personally for what you've done for me and for the town of Philipstown. It can't be replaced, but we're going to do our best to find somebody. So I can get a motion to accept.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks to Kim as well, all the time he gives us service since I've been a liaison for the planning board for the last 8 years or so. But yeah, she's always there, always reliable, and I appreciate all the service that she provided.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you, Kim.
Yeah. Okay, can I get a motion to accept Kim's resignation from the planning board?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution accepting the resignation of Cecilia Rohrs as part-time Justice Court Clerk effective immediately and authorizing the town clerk to advertise for the position.
Okay, Seal, it was a short run, but it didn't work out. Happy to have had you for what we did, and we wish you luck going forward. So can I get a motion to accept Seal's resignation as a part-time Justice Court Clerk?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution accepting the proposal and authorizing Supervisor Van Tassel to sign said proposal for legal services from Thomas Strohan, Waxman, Pettigrew, and Melee LLP as counsel to the town of Philipstown to serve at the pleasure of the town board, compensation at the rate of $225 per hour for attorneys and $100 per hour for paralegal services for 2023.
So this is the attorney firm that represents us for personnel issues, basically our human resources department. So I've spent a lot of time on the phone with Melissa Knapp. She helped us negotiate the CSEA contract. She works with us on a regular basis, very knowledgeable, very helpful. So I certainly support the use of this firm going forward. Can I get a motion to accept the resolution for all those attorneys that we just read off, including Judy Maley, who actually Melissa Knapp, was Judy Maley, Melissa Knapp, who represents us.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
And I realized we didn't schedule the reorg or the regular January meeting at the December meeting, so this is just, the reorg will be 7 o'clock on the 5th of January, and then we'll do the regular monthly meeting right after that.
Good.
If everybody's good with that.
Do we have any other people that want to come in at the same time? Then we have the trails, ones that different time?
They're all coming to the January meeting, right? The trails.
I
committee?
have to go back and double check our meeting minutes from last month, because I didn't think so. I thought we had, the guy from Jewel, the CCA, is coming to the regular monthly meeting.
The Conservation
Rebecca-
Preservation Plan,
And who is that through?
that's the Land Trust is bringing that in.
Okay,
They've been here
that's-
once.
They were here back
Yeah.
in like October.
We all got,
They're coming to the January
I
meeting?
believe they're on the agenda.
But I
They
think the
wanted to-
Philipstown Trails Committee with the
The workshop, the January 18th.
January 18th, yeah,
Yeah.
Rebecca didn't confirm that with me, and she just emailed me and said they're not having a December meeting, but you said you talked to them about
Yes,
that, right?
yeah,
And
they
that's
confirmed.
definite?
It is definite.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay,
That's the trails, okay.
yeah.
And then the last thing is, I was looking at the holiday schedule that we had approved in January of this year.
Right.
And I don't know if you recall, you know how for Thanksgiving, the day after we're off, but we have to use the time for it. We approved that for Christmas as well. And I guess I didn't realize Christmas was on a Sunday this year. So we were approved for Monday, Tuesday off. I would like to change that to Friday, Monday.
Okay,
Like the Friday before.
and the Monday would
And
be
the Friday would have to be used
Personal.
towards time.
Right. So the
Personal or
Monday is the
vacation.
actual
The
holiday.
Monday we get for the actual holiday, yes.
Friday would be, you would take.
You'd
personal.
have to use, yeah, we'd be closed, but everyone has to use their time for it.
This year you talking about?
Yeah, we had approved it in January, but then I
understood.
was,
I got you.
Maureen
Make sure I
actually
can-
brought it up and
Oh,
asked
so
me
you-
about it and was
so
like,
it's
why did you do that? And I,
2023, not 2024, okay, gotcha.
no, 2022,
Next couple of
like
weeks.
next week.
Next week, okay.
Yes, yes,
All
sorry.
right, understood, yeah.
I mean, I have no problem with it. They're gonna use personal time.
Yeah,
And,
just like for just like they do the day after Thanksgiving,
Okay. Anybody have an issue with that?
unless,
So they'd be
yeah.
closed Friday, Monday.
Friday, Monday instead of Monday, Tuesday
Instead of
after
Monday,
Christmas,
Tuesday.
yeah.
Yeah, I have no-
Thursday, you're here all week.
Yeah,
You got it
we're here all day.
All day.
Yeah,
All right. So we're all set?
that's it.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I had quite the day with the Garrison Landing, as did Bob. So we're trying to make progress with the well, the new well, which is now surrounded by 2 feet of mud, and it's hard to access. So you're trying to get a temporary road permit from OSI to do the road, which I think we're going to get. In the meantime, they're suggesting that we do a new driveway directly off of 9D, which does make a lot of sense, straight into the well, which would be about 1/10 of the length of the one we have to do to get from the community garden down to the well. So that is in process. Phone today, email, a lot of negotiating, and hopefully that's going to happen. I did speak with DOT today, Lance McMillan from Regional Director of DOT, so that's the approach off of 9D would require a New York State DOT permit, which we're going to try to expedite. At the other end of the Garrison Landing, we have located a leak, which is going through about 9,000 to 10,000 gallons a day. So it's very costly. The leak is under the southbound platform for the railroad. So we applied for basically an emergency permit from Metro North to get under the platform and hand dig to access the pipe and repair it. So that all came together at some point today. We were waiting on just the insurance certificates from the contractor that we're hiring. We normally would have the highway guys go down and do the digging, but the fact that it's supposed to snow tomorrow and tomorrow night, I don't want to wear out the highway guys digging, so we're going to utilize a private contractor to do the work. So the one item we were missing was the certificates from the contractor. Otherwise, the permit is in place. Thank you to Neil Zuckerman, Nancy Montgomery assisted with us today, Legislator Montgomery, I should say. So when the right people get in on your side, things happen. And we were originally told by the MTA that it was going to be a 1-month process to get a permit. Couple phone calls to the right people, and it was, the flagman will be there tomorrow, get the permit in place. So it's helpful to have these type of people living in the community and willing to assist with us. So thank you to Legislator Montgomery and Neil Zuckerman. So hopefully that'll happen tomorrow. The leak will be over and done, and we'll go back to using a reasonable amount of water. So
I hope so. I hope that's the case. As you know, me and you've been spending a lot of time down there. I got a lot of questions. I still got a lot of questions that are unanswered, and hopefully they'll be answered tomorrow.
Yeah.
And hopefully get this resolved.
I mean, it's a little bit crazy, but we were able to find there's a pipe that goes under the railroad tracks. Okay, so there was a 4-inch steel pipe, which was probably the original water line, and then inside the steel pipe is a 2-inch plastic pipe. So the highway department dug between dollies and the platform, and we found the end of the steel pipe. The plastic pipe was there intact, but there was no water coming out. So we don't know where the water is going, unless what we're thinking is the steel pipe somewhere under the platform. We had the leak team came in and they located it supposedly 2 feet in from the skirt wall that hangs on the edge of the platform. We're thinking that the casing cracked, the metal casing cracked, and the plastic pipe is leaking, and the water's just going into the gravel and into the river. So we're filling the river up with tanker water, basically. So hopefully this is going to be able to be opened up tomorrow. We have, our guy, Rich Kane, is going to do the repair once it's exposed. But I'll keep you all in the loop tomorrow. Hopefully it's going to be quick and over. We have a permit from tomorrow till Tuesday to do the work, because we have no idea what we're going to find. So the highway crew actually dug up on the other side of the tracks as well, and we can't, there's no end, so the steel is there, but that we can't find the plastic, so it must be further out. But there was no water evident there either. So,
Yeah, nothing.
so it's a mystery.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll dig it up and find it.
I hope so.
We'll see.
Really
tomorrow.
hope so.
I'm glad you were able to expedite it, and
God, it was a long day on the phone. It was a lot of phone, a lot of email. It was a lot, but it's over. So we'll get through it.
John, can I ask a couple?
Sure.
Not about the Garrison Water stuff, but just
It's okay.
a couple different report backs and just
Sure.
like what your opinion is. One, I don't know if you all are getting like calls or emails about Central Hudson and like bills coming to people and big bills, ridiculous bills. So this group called the Public Utility Law Project filed a motion against Central Hudson with the Public Service Commission because of this billing, because it's been going crazy. And so I think they're going to municipalities and giving presentations on that motion and like what's happened at Central Hudson and how it's hurt people. Would you all, or John, would you consider like having them in
An
and
explanation.
Okay.
I can give you my own example. A $700 bill 1 month,
Yeah.
and then a $1,000 bill the following month. My bill is usually between $200 and $300.
Yeah.
I called Central Hudson. I said, I'm not paying the second bill.
Yeah.
I'm not telling everybody else to do that. I'm not paying the second bill. I want my meter. So I was told by a Central Hudson rep, they're going to come out and check my meter and make sure the readings are accurate. I never heard another thing.
Yeah.
My meter was never checked. I was supposed to get a letter. They were supposed to, and then I got another bill today with the $1,000 plus $239, which is my normal bill, which is in that area. So, and I'm not paying it until somebody gives me an answer. I mean, I'd love an explanation as to what the issue is.
Okay, so I'll connect because I think they could give that explanation, and I think they are asking municipalities if they would sign a local resolution in support of this motion on behalf of the residents. But should I?
Yeah,
see
bring it.
if
I
they'll?
would like to have them come in
Okay.
and like.
Yeah, have them come in. The same
And
thing
on
I
that
got-
note,
Okay.
I'm meeting with the Central Hudson Regional Director tomorrow here. This is just about storm response, nothing to do with the billing, but I'm certainly going to ask her about that. So if anybody's available, 9 o'clock tomorrow, meeting with the Central Hudson rep. So
The only other things were there's a campaign for community climate action. They're taking out an ad, a Philipstown campaign, Philipstown Fights Dirty, and they're just listing, it's like 20 organizations with their logos and like a blurb on what they did. And they want to do Town of Philipstown logo, stretch code, and food recycling program. Do you have any?
sounds good to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just public information.
Okay. And then the last two, this was an update. John, we talked about this. I know the board in the past has talked about the idea of solar on the Lane Gate landfill, and the DEC does a free program where they just do an analysis and they talk about it. I mentioned this to you.
Yeah, we've I actually met up there probably 8 or 10 years ago with Richard. Somebody else was proposing it, the same thing, but
Okay.
there is a fabric cap that's on the landfill that cannot be punctured.
Yeah.
So there's nothing. We had discussed weighting the things down, and it didn't work out. And that had to do with the way the hill faces. It wasn't the right direction, but things have changed.
Yeah,
in
right.
10 years.
Technology's changed.
Yeah, without
like,
a doubt.
Like now, like down at the rec center. That's just sitting there. There's nothing bolted to the wall.
Yeah, it's
It's
just laying
laying on there.
Right,
So
right.
things changed, you
Yeah.
know. So
is it worthwhile to do
yeah,
that? This
definitely.
DEC does a free program. They just
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the only, Tara, when you mentioned the 200 emails, I mean, I just wrote that down. Is that the whole board? Is that the whole town-wide e-blast list?
And I'd have to double check. It's like 200. We might be at like 240 something now. Yeah.
And it's advertised in the Putnam County News every week. If you want to get on the e-blast, send an email.
And I check, well, and you can send an email, or we do have a Google Sheet. You can go in and put your name on the Google Sheet, and then I add them to the list.
Yeah, so I thought there'd be more than that too.
And getting
But
back to
obviously
the
it's not.
TV station,
And
we
I think
can,
some of them are duplicates.
people see the TV shows, but we just can't.
So
do the
we can
bulletin.
broadcast the DVDs. So every day I go over and I change the DVDs. So, and they play so many times a day, depending on how long they are. But then in between, when there's nothing on, I mean, this has been going on over a year. Over a year, this has been going on. This has been going on since Richard.
How do we?
So how are we going to resolve?
We need new equipment. I'm pretty sure the equipment down there is older than me.
Gotcha. Well, let's look into that. What is that?
Yeah, let's at least look into that piece.
Yeah, it's good to have that information, like,
Yeah.
you know, the
Well, like I
vaccine.
said,
Yeah.
I'd like
Yeah.
to also get a rebid on this whole room too. I know we've had bids for,
I just gave you one too. I gave a list of 70. I don't know what's on.
I haven't seen it, so anyway,
Now,
that's good.
I'll reach out to Steve Gaba on it too, because I feel like that has something to do with like the infrastructure in terms of our getting. I want to ask him if that's something that could be covered with ARPA money,
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I don't see why they can't.
but not before the website.
Not before the website. Let's get the website.
Is anything-
Sorry,
anything-
just throwing it out
anything
there.
moving on that? Because Kim Conner keeps on asking me.
You told me he said last month he didn't want to address it until after the first of the year.
Because
So
Kim
I
asked-
haven't
Kim
said
asked me
anything,
last-
because that's what, I haven't said anything, so. I mean, I have the proposals and stuff, I just will, I mean, January is gonna be a busy month,
Yeah,
so,
come prepared.
so we'll,
Everybody get a good night's sleep.
yeah.
Be prepared. Oh, and that the conservation preservation plan, it's lengthy. I mean, I really recommend we read
I
through
mean,
it.
and if anybody needs it again, I can resend it again. 'cause
Yeah, I do better with
they've sent it a couple
paper. I have a
times.
paper copy, I just do better, I can highlight, I could probably do that on my,
Print one out and put them on the mailbox. It's the same thing. I don't
Asking
like
for the
putting-
town to like adopt the preservation
Yeah,
plan?
Yeah, it's exactly what it is, yeah. And then, that's
Put 'em on
the
the-
first step towards, you can't have a comprehensive, or I keep saying, you can't have a preservation fund unless you have this plan in place as to where the funds would go.
Does
So it's-
anybody else want a hard copy? I'm gonna print one out for Bobby.
I would like a
Yeah?
hard copy.
No,
It's
that's
hard
fine.
to read it
I
online.
do better with
Yeah,
paper
no,
than I do.
online after a
That's fine.
while. Yeah, I can't.
That's fine.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's color, it's nice.
So you
You
want
don't-
it printed in
you
color?
don't have to
Okay.
put-
No,
Mine's in color.
gotcha.
Well, there's color maps, there's, you know,
I
there's stuff.
think that is, did you get the one that they dropped off? Or, okay.
Don't remember getting
All right,
the
so
prop.
can we adjourn?
Yeah, you have to make a motion to adjourn
Can I
now.
get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor? Aye. I vote aye.